So as we get into this new unit, the word precursors talks about something that comes before a big event. So the big event here was the Civil War, probably one of the most major, impactful events in American history, and not for good reasons either. A civil war basically means that the country is divided and you've got groups quarreling with one another. And in this case, they were fighting literally with blood and lives being lost. So back in the 17th, 18th centuries, there was a movement known as the Great Awakening, which basically tried to get people to wake up to being good and following the Bible and doing what was going to make their Christian God happy. Now, again, this is not a lecture on religion. This is really just making you aware of the fact that America in the 17th century, 18th century was a very religious nation, very Christian-based nation. And they still were in the 19th century as well. Well, some people started to look at that first movement, the Great Awakening, and said, well, you're basically saying that a God chooses people from birth as people that are going to be good and that will go to heaven, or people that are not going to be good and that are going to live bad lives. And they said that just doesn't make a lot of sense. Even to religious people, they said, people have free will. People have the ability to make decisions and learn the difference between right and wrong and make decisions based on what's right and hopefully moving away from what's wrong. So this new era of reform in the 19th century, this era of change and improving the lives of those who maybe didn't have great lives earlier because of things out of their control. This was known as the Second Great Awakening, or a period of time, a movement which was called the Transcendental Movement or Enlightenment thinking. So this new belief was that people, not a higher power, but people were in control of their own lives using reasoning. Now, that didn't mean that people stopped believing in their God. That didn't mean that people stopped following the Bible. There were still people who were guided by this moral compass saying that, okay, I want to follow the words that are in my scripture, and I want to follow the wishes of a Christian God. But then others, maybe who were not as religious, said, whether you believe or not, whether you have a faith in a higher power or not, everybody's got the ability to choose on their own and determine what is the right decision and what's not the right decision. So this was an idea that people were in charge of their lives, not some higher power. And the aim of this movement, this Second Great Awakening, was to improve people's lives, to improve society. So if you see something that needs to be fixed, it's up to you to start to make that change. If there's something within you that needs to be fixed, don't wish for luck. Don't expect it to just magically go away. Things need to be taken, steps need to be taken in order to improve one's life. And so this new religious movement, this Second Great Awakening, this idea of transcendentalism and people acting upon their own free will, and people are supposed to have free will and be able to make their own decisions. So this movement not only helped with education reform and prisoner reform, but also with reform in terms of the institution of slavery, realizing that slavery needed to be abolished and that it was wrong, it was inhumane, and it was not an act of a higher power that says that, yes, slavery is what you need to do. Manifest destiny is something that you need to do. If it's right, do it. But clearly, slavery was not right. It was taking control of individuals and enslaving them and against their will. So this Second Great Awakening was trying to, again, as the term implies, awaken people and get them to realize that they're in charge of their lives and they need to make the right decisions to make not only their lives better, but to help improve the lives of others as well. So that sort of that unselfish thinking, but starting within, fixing what you need to fix about you, and then hopefully that will then set off a ripple effect or a domino effect for good to happen in the world around them.